Irish expat who's been living in Thailand for the last 3 years. Candice owns and operates her own business, including the Wellness Collective and Candice Ford Coaching.
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What did you do in Dubai before you moved to Thailand, and what sort of brought you here?
Cool. Well, my husband and I are both third-generation expats. We both grew up in the Middle East, as did our parents, and our grandparents were there since the 1940s. So we've never lived in our home country. And so we were in Dubai as kids back in the early 90s. Ben was there even longer than that. And it was just a wonderful place to live before it became so modernized and industrialized. You know, you'd go out into the desert and you'd see little footprints in the sand. And so when we had kids, that was kind of the childhood we wanted for them. By that point, Dubai was the mega city that we know today, and we ran our own business. We were both in the same business. So it was very intense, and with young children, we just weren't around. So we sold our CrossFit gym, which was heart-wrenching. It was our first baby, and moved to Thailand in 2018, just chasing that more outdoors, more natural lifestyle. Ben's father had already retired here, so this was an obvious choice. We gave it a go for 6 months, and we're still here 3 years later.
So you sort of wanted, I think you wanted what we wanted as well for our child, was kind of a slower pace, more time with your family, longer sort of innocent period maybe.
Yeah.
And so did you find that here in Thailand? Was that
the great thing about coming? We kind of got to the point that Rafe was in nursery. We were working long hours. We'd get up and Dad would already be at work, and we'd tag team at night. And when we had another baby coming, we didn't want to have somebody else raise our kids. So by coming to Hua Hin, we were able to take that first year off and really indulge a newborn and a 3-year-old and play and family time. And being here now, the kids go out the front door. I mean, this is their home. So they can go out the front door and chase peacocks in the pineapple fields. Granddad's next door. Things that they just didn't have in Dubai. You know, pool in the back garden, swimming every day, unobstructed views on the beaches, you know, really just getting back to nature. That was what appealed to us.
So can you tell us a little bit about where we are, this space, and what it is, and like the whole concept?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we had a CrossFit gym in the Middle East for a decade. We brought the first CrossFit gym to the Middle East. So it was a very exciting 10 years of work. But the thing that we found with a lot of our guests, as CrossFit grew, they'd go on holidays and they could stay in a luxury hotel and they'd have a terrible gym, or they could go to one of the incredible training camps, but it would be dormitory-style accommodation. And expats have a very finite amount of leave. So we wanted to create a place that you didn't have to compromise. You could have a luxury boutique hotel and still have a 5-star training experience. And so that's what we've built here. We were very lucky. My husband's father is one of the investors in this boutique hotel that we're at, and there was one empty plot left. Mm-hmm. And so this structure grew from that vision that we had, views straight down the valley here with Samoyed in the distance, and then equipped with the best CrossFit equipment so that we can really provide that uncompromising training experience within the beautiful setting of not only this pineapple plantation, but also wider Hua Hin.
So obviously one of the decisions for moving here was because your father-in-law has this property. Did you know much about Hua Hin before you decided to move here? And how did you find Hua Hin 3 years ago, and how do you find it today?
Yes and no. We found it because of Damien. He's been coming here for over a decade now. And when we were running our gym, we would be able to sneak away for kind of 3 or 4 day weekends. So we would literally fly through the night from Dubai, be transferred straight from Bangkok, and wake up to these views. And so because we only had 4 days, we didn't really know Hua Hin City. Mm-hmm. We knew a few of the bars, we knew the night market, we knew a few of the restaurants here in Pat Nam Pran, but that was it. So really coming 3 years ago was an exploration of Hua Hin, really getting to know how much more there was in the city. We came for a long weekend, I think 6 months before we moved here, and we were much more intentional. Where can we get milk? Where can we get nappies? Like all of those things you need with a young family. Yeah. But other than that, no. The first month we were here with a 4-week-old baby and a 2-year-old, we just went to every supermarket, every hardware store, every shopping mall, and just kind of did the rounds, figured things out, and it's gone from strength to strength since. And then the changes. The one thing, for as much as Hua Hin has suffered with COVID, we've definitely seen this wave of new blood coming down from the city of people that were living in condos and just aren't prepared to do that anymore. and they want the space, the nature that Hua Hin offers. So there's definitely been a change in terms of restaurants, in terms of activities for kids, and the demographic of people that are now basing themselves here.
Yeah, in fact, I would say that since COVID, your business has actually expanded.
Absolutely.
Which is a good thing. And leading into my next question, you had always intended to open a business here in Thailand. How was the process for starting a business in Thailand versus maybe somewhere else? Was it easier, more difficult, challenges?
It was, so the first year that we were here, because we were kind of testing the waters, we weren't 100% set on staying here. We thought maybe we can set this up and run it remotely. So we kept the business based in Dubai. We have 2 business partners. They were in Europe by that point, so we kept our legal base there before we really kind of put down roots here. And then obviously partnering with the hotel from a legal standpoint, we were able to operate that way. And then when it came to actually setting up our business, the biggest piece of advice that we were given was to kind of look around. So we spoke to 3 or 4 lawyers who help set up companies. We got referrals for all of them. And ultimately, we have a great lawyer, but the person that's helped us the most has been, she's called our accountant. She's kind of a legal secretary / accountant / what we call in the Middle East a PRO, the person that does all of the stuff. And Kun Peng has been amazing. Without her, it would not have been the smooth operation that it was, especially with COVID being a non-conventional type of business. So yeah, it was easy, time-consuming, frustrating, but it wasn't difficult. I think as long as you come in patient and prepared for it to take probably 3 or 4 times longer than you anticipate, then the process itself was relatively easy.
And that sort of applies to everything in Thailand. At
Yes.
the end of the day, you can always get things done, but you have to have a little flexibility. You have to be willing to do some unconventional things to get your goal met. But
Yep.
in the end, you can always sort of...
Absolutely. And I think being an expat already and running my own business already set me up for that, because it's the same thing in Dubai. We have a really efficient e-government system there, but people still complain about the changing nature of the law or the obligations. And it's like, well, if you've got the time to jump through the hoops of fire, you get to have the business that you want, operate the way that you want. And it's, in the long run, it's worth that initial hassle and frustration.
So one thing that you mentioned to me previously was that being a female entrepreneur and business owner here in Hua Hin and maybe in Thailand is a bit lonely because you don't have a lot of peers for that support and for that sounding board. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Coming from Dubai, it's really interesting. I was the only female affiliate owner for a very long time. And so I was used to being in this very male-dominated environment, but at least I was surrounded by peers, and I had kind of men that were the male affiliate owners that were the same sort of age, and then members that were young businesswomen, even if they were in different fields. And so I had that there. Coming here, there's really not a lot of women who are working under the age of, like expat women under the age of 40 who are working. And so that was a bit of a shock. I figured once, we settle Evie and I get back to work, I'll find people, I'll find my groove. And there's really not very many people here. It's still very much a retirement community, very much an F&B hospitality community. So people are either in their brick and mortar businesses or big corporates. And there isn't this entrepreneurial vibe, especially not amongst women. And so it was lonely for a long time. I really clung to a lot of my business colleagues from the UAE, from other parts of the Middle East and from Europe, to have that female energy, which is never something I thought was important to me before, but being here with absolutely none of that, it's really led me to kind of seek things out. And I'm meeting more women now, especially with this influx from Bangkok, who are working mums. But most of the mums I meet here with young kids stay home, they don't work. And so it's like, well, I can't do play dates all day, every day, or it can only be at the weekends, or... So that part has been lonely, and it's something that I'm still navigating, but it's definitely trending in the right direction for my peace of mind and creativity.
Great. Well, I'm glad to see things are improving. Hopefully they'll
Continue
do more
to,
so.
yeah.
So that leads me into one of my next questions for any opportunities for new businesses in Hua Hin for someone who's looking to move here, do you have any suggestions for a niche that hasn't been filled here?
And initially I would say kids. And I think there's definitely a lot more. I do gymnastics classes, which are hugely popular. I do some CrossFit Kids for the older teens, and they love that. There's definitely a gap in the market for physical activities for children. And then teenagers. That was the first thing I noticed. I had a thriving teens program in Dubai, and I get why there's nothing for teenagers. There's not a huge teenage community here, but there's more than enough to create critical mass around activities that are going to get kids off their devices or off sitting watching TV and actually out exploring something new. And that's one of the incredible things about Hua Hin. Although it is an older and there's a larger retired community here, the depth of knowledge and wisdom, both in sport and in other areas, is huge. So I think there's really an opportunity to tap into that and create programs for teenagers to be doing not just sport, but whether it's coding or music or other activities. So I think there's really an opportunity for extracurricular. The schools are coming in, but those extracurricular activities for teenagers and then also for young kids as well, really mixing it up and tapping into the diversity that is here.
Absolutely. As a parent of a teenager, I 100% agree with you. So my final question is, do you have any advice for those considering moving to Thailand or specifically Hua Hin? What's one thing you would say to them?
Take your time. You know, that patience piece, especially in the first 6 or 8 months, will really help. So I would, if you don't know Hua Hin well, rent property first with a view to buy, but really figure out what area works for you, what supermarkets you like, if you're going to find that social circle here. Because that was certainly one of the things that we didn't have and we've changed. You know, we would have lived in a different area for school than we live now, but actually this is the best area for us. So I think taking that time to explore would be really valuable.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Candice.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure speaking with you as always.
Absolutely. See you soon.